Yo, yo, yo. Welcome to WNS9 Plus. I'm your host, Anthony DiNardo. With me, of course, we have Tyler. We don't have Jim, but guess what? We got something way better. Tonight, we have ourselves Noah Hiles from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Noah, welcome back to the show, buddy.
Guys, it's been a minute. How's everyone doing? Glad to be back on.
It's been a while. Pretty good. I think the roster remains exactly the same as last time we had you on.
Oh, listen, we're not going to start the show with Caleb Ferguson slander. I'll tell you that right now.
No, not
yeah,
Caleb.
no, it's basically the exact same thing. Yes.
Yeah. So nothing's changed. So welcome back. See you later. Have a good night. But no, for how you been? How's your off season going?
It's been good. I will say, like, going straight from Pitt to the Pirates beat last year, like, at the time I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And then it got to a certain point in the season where I was like, I'm kind of tired. I've been traveling nonstop for like a year and a half now. And then, but they were like playing well at that time. And then August arrived and I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm tired. And the baseball got real bad real fast. So it was a nice off season, got to recharge, got to spend some time with friends and family. I'm working on the golf swing, which is nice.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, you know, and like I said in our group chat, you know, it's not like I've had a lot to work on this off season as far as writing about big free agency acquisitions. So it's a nice time period to reset, and I'm excited to get down to Bradenton.
I don't know. I just hear about a group chat and I'm like, I'm just that guy with fire around me. Everything's fine. That's fine.
Tyler, you can be added in.
I don't have the group chat. It's fine. It's fine.
I don't have your number. I don't have your number.
Oh,
we
weird.
can add you in right now.
You know what, Noah? I thought I had better friends that might share my number with some other
friends. I was gonna say blame the guy on the screen.
You know damn well you don't have better friends. So
yeah,
wow, that is very true. But
I also
in our NCAA league, I have defended DiNardo tooth and nail lately. Like I'm coming to his defense. Well, I mean,
there's nothing to defend. I won the league. My
but
first
also,
year in it, I won the
aside from that, you know what? Not derailing the show tonight. Aside from that, like I just, you know, I thought like I have his back, he has my back, but no, it's cool. I'll just go sit in my living room over here in Northeast Ohio, you know, where Noah went to college, and not discuss any Mount Union football. It's fine.
Yeah, we gotta hit the portal hard.
Yeah,
that D3 NIL money's got to really come up big this offseason.
Joe Sarchone has to come through.
Oh, Sarchone Ford? Are you talking?
Sarchone Chevy.
Oh, I had to, when I worked in Canton covering high school football, I had to tag him in every tweet during like score updates. Like Maslin leads McKinley 17-10, like at Sarchone Ford. That guy's got a monopoly over there, man. He's doing well. Yeah.
You know, I do have to say, we don't have an. I mean, do we want to get in the NIL game, Tyler? Do we want to sponsor someone?
I got $3.
Want an official NS9 athlete at Mount Union?
Dude, when I'm older, I want to sponsor a T-ball team, and I just want to make it my social media handle. Like, it can just be the @_Noah Hileses. And I want to drive around in a golf cart with my hair slicked back in a suit with a cigar and act like I'm George Steinbrenner. And I want to actively talk about like trading kids and stuff like that's right. Like people want to coach their kids. Like, no, I want to own the team. And I don't want to have a business. I just want to be, I want to be the aggressive owner. I want to fire coaches mid-season. Like it's going to be fun.
I always said I wanted to coach a little league football team and just run the stat guy and make kids just hit each other nonstop. I want to make some tough kids.
Yeah. Why not?
Love the idea. We'll run the fantasy league. How's that?
Just Maybe a fantasy league is a little league
I'm
football or baseball team.
Start drafting some 9-year-olds off of Noah's team as my starting pitcher.
There we go. They might be playing for the Pirates soon.
Yeah. Too expensive.
Love it.
Noah's out paying.
Yeah. If I cut out Dave and Buster's, I could probably afford to outbid the Pirates.
Right.
You need sponsored by them first.
I've been working on that for years.
I know you said
I've been barking up that
needs
tree.
to happen.
I've DM'd them many times. Like, hey, one day we'll get there.
We'll get there. Well, I'll tell you what, everyone. We have a good show in front of you today. Before we go any further, the biggest betting weekend of the year is finally here. Noah, listen to this, which means more updated odds and props for Super Sunday. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. We have hundreds of prop bets, MVP odds, and exclusive in-game live betting. BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline offers you everything and more to enhance your game day experience. Visit the website today to make the game day action count a little bit more. There's that typo. BetOnline, the game starts here. So yeah, I mean, there's a big weekend coming up, Noah. Super Bowl weekend.
There is.
Is this where the rule book gets tossed out the window again?
No, you don't throw the record books out the window for the Super Bowl because the record books had a very, very, very big impact on how these two teams got here. It's only for AFC North football.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Good to know. Good to know. So there's some information to use when you go on BetOnline and make those prop bets.
Absolutely. Can I give my favorite prop?
Yeah.
I've got a couple here. Where
are you pulling these from?
Oh, I mean, where am I I'll show you. Give me 1 second. My old quarterback wristband here. It says Super Bowl bets, and I wrote them all in here. Where's the camera? Oh, this is bad. We'll just do this.
There we go.
It's got them all. I'll give a couple. I always bet on a Whippeal guy to score a touchdown in the Super Bowl. So this year, Justin Watson is my pick. I actually played against him in high school, South Fayette guy. He's plus 1,100. So a lot of value there. But, I mean, Sky Moore scored a couple years ago for the Chiefs, so that cash. So keep an eye on that one. My favorite game prop would be first drive to end in a field goal attempt. I actually like a lot. It's plus 350. I just feel like, touchdown's a little aggressive. And a punt, these guys aren't punting. So, yeah. So we'll go with those two. What's up, Connor?
I do like that field goal pick right there.
Yeah,
Also, though, Noah, I just really quick want to take it back to Dave and Buster's.
Yeah.
What's the game there?
My game? My favorite game is Guitar Hero. Like that, if you go to the one off McKnight Road, I own the record book for Medium.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I only play
on Medium?
Yeah.
Playing on Carry On My Wayward Son?
No, it's Guitar Hero 3. So, I mean, my favorite song of all time is Bulls
So you're not even playing the good Guitar Hero?
No, dude. Guitar Hero 3 is the best Guitar Hero.
Guitar Hero 2 is way better.
Guitar Hero 2 is good, but Guitar Hero 2 walked so Guitar Hero 3 could run. Anyway, Bulls on Parade is my favorite Guitar Hero song of all time. Black Magic Woman's also really good. Rock You Like a Hurricane's pretty good. But yeah, I rewrote the record books there. My other favorite games, Deal or No Deal, I think is the funnest group setting arcade game that exists. It is a blast. Because you can get everyone involved. Pop-A-Shot's fun. I know there's some bad video out there that, certain people in the Pirates Twitter community like to bring up. When they don't know the full story, they don't know the full context and what went into that performance. And if they did, maybe they would consider that like a Jordan Flu game, which is where, he was also hindered down on something and didn't have a great shooting percentage, but people remember the victory. So, yeah, I like everything at Dave & Buster's, man. It's great.
But do you get to the baseball one where it's a speed test?
Yes. Dude, actually, I've set the record on that one too. Cause you have, it's timing.
65. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I threw in the high 60s as well, but it's velocity and accuracy. Plus you have to time it.
That is
right.
True.
You got to time it with the lights. So you have to have decent velo, have really good accuracy and timing. So it's more of a test of like being able to have like a good throw from the infield than it is like just throwing a ball hard.
Yeah, I think that's a lame way to play it. The way our family plays it is we all line up and
Just
we just
throwing hard?
try to throw as hard as we can.
Yeah, that's fair.
And unfortunately, I had a younger cousin that was hitting like 88, and I'm like, I hit 72, and I felt really good about myself.
Now, if you want to hack for the best way to win tickets there, and I taught this to the Bucko Banner guys, and it was like I was like a proud dad watching them win big. So like the hammer thing where it's like like a whack-a-mole mallet and it just goes up and touches the bell. Everyone thinks in order to win big on that, you need to just hit it hard. No, the key is you just hold it level, right? Maybe like 2 or 3 inches above the sensor. And you just give it like a nice little compression. And you have to have feel. But I saw this on TikTok, and I kid you not, I can get like the top prize, like which is 1,000 tickets. I can get it on like 1 of every 5 tries. And I taught Scott and Adam, and they both like got it that night.
So maybe it's not so much a sponsorship you need. Have you ever considered opening up the drive line of Dave & Buster's?
Of Dave & Buster's? I could. I mean, the amount of like information I have on like all the games. I mean, there's some games like the shooting games to me, like those are fun, but they're all like one and the same. It's like, do I want to shoot a deer or a zombie? That kind of stuff. And like anything that involves me putting something on my face, I'm out, because that's just a good way to get COVID.
And respect.
But yeah, if you're talking like actual games, I can give you a pretty good pointer on pretty much anything there.
I think that's the play here.
Yeah.
Yeah. How to beat Dave & Buster's is you go to the drive line of Dave & Buster's, which is Noah Hiles.
Exactly.
For a small fee of $1.99 per session.
There's a market there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pay for my buffalo wings and I'm good.
There it is. Nice. So, maybe we'll talk a little about Pirates. A lot of things happened outside of Pirate Space I want to talk about, but spring is coming too. And I think it's a good opportunity, a good time, especially because there hasn't been a whole lot happening, and like the stuff that has happened, it's outside of Pirates, kind of brings a lot of negativity and such. So let's maybe talk a little positive, what we want to see in like spring training that's coming up in less than 3 weeks. Pitcher Catcher's Report a week from now. But again, before we do get there, I do want to talk a little bit about some things. Again, what a lot of people are wondering, right? Like Randall Grichuk gets signed for a very, very small fee to play baseball.
Yeah.
And then the Twins sign a player today too. And it's like, you're just seeing this free agent market just shrink and shrink and shrink. And we know the opportunity that exists in right field. So Noah, as the Pirates beat writer, well connected, what is going on? What are we doing?
I mean, I don't think it would be unfair or inaccurate for me to say that they're having a very hard time convincing people to come play baseball for this team. I mean, because it's gotten to a point where you look at some of the deals that these guys are signing for, and I know that the Pirates have a long reputation of being frugal. They don't sign big time multi-year deals at a high annual value. But I mean, the deals that some of these guys are signing for, they've paid players at those positions more money. Grichuk is deals for $5 million, but isn't he only making like $2 million? Is it like $2 million guaranteed? Yeah. So
it's a 1 year, $2 million with a 5-year option and a $3 million buyout from that. So essentially at max value, it's and $500,000 incentive. So like at max value, it's 2 years, $7.5 million, the way I gather it.
And like, that's just not a lot of money, for any team, including the Pirates. They have guys who make more than that. So I think the struggle here is they're a tough sell. They're a tough sell to a team. And I think especially when you look at their recent history with guys on 1-year deals, it didn't go well for a lot of guys. And if you're a guy who's looking to rebound, and you're looking for a 1-year prove it deal, are you going to go somewhere where you're going to have to put a lot of weight on your shoulders, where you're going to be slated to bat in the middle third of the order, where expectations, they're going to expect you to be the player that you were in 22 and 23 when you're at your best? Or would you rather go somewhere that has a more completed lineup and that you'll have a little bit more protection in front of you and behind you? And sure, they might be able to pay you a little bit more. And you know that, hey, they have a better chance of winning. And that if they're under 500, yeah, I'll probably get dealt at the deadline. But I like their chances of not being under 500 more than the Pirates. So It's tough. I mean, they have so much going against them already with their limited budget and everything. But I really do think that this offseason, more than others, we're seeing that they're a tough sell. They're a tough sell right now. I don't think that's the main factor, but I think that that's hurt them more this offseason than other off seasons.
Gotcha.
So you talk about the recent history of the Pirates and just the fact that they have not been able to get anyone on a 1-year deal to really succeed. Do you get any of the vibe that some of the things that happened with Rowdy Tellez last year, the IKF stuff, I know nobody's going to come out and say it, but have you gotten that feeling that might play into some of this with free agency?
I'm sure it doesn't help. I think the damage from that stuff was more internally. I think that pissed off players on the roster more than players off the roster. I mean, in reality, the IKF and the Rowdy Tellez thing, that didn't teach anybody anything new about the Pirates. It was just more an affirmation. And I think that they probably could have nixed that perception had they went out and they signed a Tyler O'Neill. Had they went out and signed someone to a serious deal for multiple years with a legitimate value, a player in his prime, then you probably have better odds at getting a Randall Grichuk if you still want him. Or, insert any other player that they could have got on a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal to be in a platoon role or to compete for a starting spot. If you show through your other moves that you're really serious about winning, that makes it a little easier for those guys to buy in. And right now, there just aren't that many moves. I mean, their biggest commitments under this regime have been internal. They've committed to 3 guys internally on extensions. So I just don't see that as enough of a selling point. Where if I'm on the outside and if I'm choosing between the Pirates or the Twins, Pirates or the Diamondbacks, the Pirates or the Blue Jays, really the Pirates or anyone, because everyone's spending more money right now. And there aren't many teams who have been less successful in the last decade than this club.
Ethan makes a good point here. No major league deal has incentives yet. Can't pay him if you don't include him. So far in all the plethora of major league signings they've had. So, I mean, my follow-up to that then is, Ben Cherington has come out and said, like, they envision improving this. This is a target. They wanted to go after this offseason. And then since Pirates Fest, he said, like, this roster will improve between now and the season. So seeing that this market's drying up, at least free agency wise, I mean, is this almost like a Verdugo or bust? Is Verdugo even a legit option? Or do you maybe see they're pivoting to the trade market at this point in time?
I mean, what does Verdugo provide?
Well, I'm with you there, but that's not.
And it's also a left-handed bat. Like they don't need that.
Right.
I mean, if they're going to get a left-handed hitting outfielder in free agency, I'd rather them just get Jason Hayward. Simply because I think he provides a little bit more to the clubhouse. He's equally as good as a defender as Verdugo. And I think he has a little bit more pop in his bat at this point. And again, that's not that appealing of a sell either. So I think if they're really looking to make a sizable impact to this roster, at this point, it has to come through the trade market because they're not signing Alonso or Bregman. So you have to look around, and I think that there is an opportunity where some team I mean, you could highlight teams like the Orioles who have a surplus of guys in the outfield right now, or you could highlight a team like the Angels who just signed 1 million dudes who can play a lot of different positions. And at one point in time in spring training, they're going to say, all right, well, everyone's healthy right now. We got a good look at some of the new guys in. We have someone that's expendable. And we're going to need to add to an area of weakness, and we're going to have to trade from an area of depth, similar to what the Pirates did to get Horwitz. And so, but that I think is going to depend on the other team, the partner. The Pirates can't facilitate that. They're not going to be the ones to initiate that. I think it's going to be another team getting, I would say, probably to the last couple weeks of spring training saying, all right, we saw a good look of what we have. We like how these young guys are looking. Player X is expendable, either because we don't think he's as good as what we originally believed him to be, or that we know we can get something for him that will make our team better in other areas. And rather than DFAing him or, putting him on waivers or whatever, we can go get something for him a week before the regular season, and we have a better idea of what our 40-man will look like as we set up for the opening day.
Yeah, man, we talk about all the options that actually they don't have anymore. There are no options left, aside from the trade market that Noah just talked about. I'm at the point now, and I want your opinion on this because I got trashed by the two other goons over here. I'm at the point where I'll just ride with Jack Sawinski, man. Like, I don't need Alex Verdugo in his 95 weighted run created plus. Give me some upside on this team somewhere. And Jack Sawinski somehow provides that still.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was big on the idea of a right-handed platoon bat. And then you could start Palacios in the majors and let Jack get right in AAA, even if he looked good in spring. Like, he's got more options than Palacios, which is kind of crazy. And he's younger, I believe, too. So I'm not giving up on Jack. I mean, I might be giving up on the idea that like he can be an everyday player, but I still think that there's a world where Jack Sawinski can be an above average platoon guy. And that's what I would have done here. And so my only, I guess, drawback to your idea, Tyler, would be more like, I think playing him every day could lead to more problems, especially earlier in the year. I really think they need to be careful with easing him in and making sure he's 100% right up here before they put him in a situation that he can't handle. Because if it's 2 years in a row of doing what happened if last year's last year and that's it, and it's an anomaly, and he goes back to being, a 1 to 2 WAR player, and that's great. But if he replicates last year, this year, like you have to move on. So They have to be very cautious with how they use him. But I agree. I think he should be a part of their plans. But they should have a plan connected to him in the form of a right-handed hitter. And it can't be Billy Cook because Billy Cook played like 10 games in the major leagues.
Like, if I can just be honest here, I don't know if Joshua, is not worse than Alex Verdugo at this point. Like,
no,
in limited sample, like Palacios is not that bad in his little small sample.
I mean, if we're talking like value, like, yeah, just because Palacios is making no money and Verdugo would be the second highest paid outfielder on your team if you signed him, probably.
No, even output wise though, like, what has Verdugo done in a couple years? And I know I'm flipping my switch here with Verdugo, and
I mean, defensively, he's still really good.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah. I mean, you asked what he does well. That's what he does. And like to a team like the Yankees, which he was on last year, where your other two outfielders are offensive monsters, that's a good piece to have. Like there's value in the player Alex Verdugo. It's just not for this roster where they might, this lineup might have 4 guys maybe that have a above league average slugging percentage this year. Maybe. You can't fill a corner outfield spot with another guy who's going to be below average. When you have an entire infield, take the catcher position away, first through third around the diamond, I don't know where you get 15 home runs from one individual.
Absolutely fair point. Right.
Right. So you need to find power in all three of your outfield spots. And you're going to get it from two of them. I feel confident they'll get it in center. I feel confident they'll get what they always get from Reynolds in left. But you need your right field platoon to hit you at least 25 home runs. Because you're not going to get that at any spot in the infield, even through a platoon, unless if it's catcher.
So if I could just do a little follow-up here, like, I get all that. I don't want Josh Palacios or Alex Verdugo on this team. I don't think they really moved the needle here. But I'm going back to the same argument I had last year about Michael A. Taylor. When we looked at his numbers there, and he's this 92 weighted runs created plus, almost league average. We forget that guys come here and they don't get better.
Yeah.
Palacios is already here, and we've kind of seen what he is. Like, we're just expecting Verdugo to show up and continue to be close to league average. That could just blow up in your face. We've seen it time and time again.
That's why you go get a good player.
Well, yeah, obviously, which is why I prefaced it with, I prefer better than all this.
If we're throwing names out there, it's ironic because, this team's been trying to trade him for almost a year now, but Taylor Ward is probably the best option available for this team that's been connected to them. He's within their price range. He platoons with Sawinski. He has positional flexibility. You can DH him. You can play him at third if you just, Key's back is broken forever and you want to give Triolo an off day. You could play him there 10 times a year or whatever to get him some extra ABs. And he has what Ben Cherington values most, years of control. He's not a one and done. So he fits into your long-term plans a little bit too. It's funny because at this time, or not at this time last year, at the deadline last year, I was looking at Taylor Ward and I was like, it doesn't do it for me. I don't see how much better does he really make this team. And it's kind of like, he's like, that girl at school and then all the other hot girls either graduate or move out. And it's like, Taylor Ward's looking a lot better right now.
Right.
Hey, I don't have a date for prom. Taylor Ward's been looking for a date for prom for a year. He doesn't look too bad. Taylor Ward would be the best cleanup hitter option on this team, bar none.
No, I'm perfectly fine with Taylor Ward because he presents a real upgrade.
Yeah.
Actual real upgrade. You put him there and you feel comfortable and safe. Going back to Tyler's thing here, we're left with Verdugo at this point in time. That's the problem. And would I rather just roll with Sawinski or add? I can't believe I'm saying this, Verdugo. I feel like I would still much rather add Verdugo because at least what Verdugo presents though is the safety net because Jack can go so many ways where Verdugo, his cap is very limited, right? He doesn't have the ceiling, the capability that Jack Sawinski does, but Jack can't give you a -2 WAR again because if that's what's happening. At least Verdugo is safe. At least he's there. Figure it out. He presents an insurance policy. And again, at the price point he's going to be at this point in time, I wouldn't be opposed if, let me make sure I word this correctly. I would be opposed if that's the route they choose other than going the trade route with Taylor Ward or whatever. But I would rather them get Verdugo than not get anything. Yeah. Right. If that's where I'm going with this, right? At least Verdugo presents that insurance policy, then it's saying, you know what, at this point, let's just roll with Jack. Give Jack that opportunity. He's still in your plans, but you still have a Verdugo there. That way, right field doesn't give you -0.23 WAR again this season.
Can I just make one additional point here? This whole equation is so much more complicated because of the fact that they traded for Spencer Horwitz. If they didn't make that move, if they used that package for something different, be it someone with more experience, someone who plays a different position, someone who hits from a different side of the plate. There are so many different routes they could have taken to make their splash trade this offseason that I think would have allowed them to be in this position now and have a little bit more demand, have a little bit better of an idea. Where they're handcuffed now because that's the player they chose to make their most aggressive move for. Where it's how much, we're talking about trades, how much more from the starting pitching can you really get rid of? Because you got to figure there are 9 guys, if you include the 5 that we all expect to be on the opening day roster for the rotation, plus the 4 guys in Indy, out of that group of 9, the reality is one of them is going to get hurt. And
Right.
at least one of them is going to underperform. So now you're at 7. You need probably 9 guys to make starts throughout the season. And now you've got bullpen guys who can help out. But if you take one more away, I don't know. There's just you're risking it. And that's why it's like I was fine with dealing from that position of depth because you had 10 guys, but the one you traded, one I think was probably the most versatile of the bunch and could have been utilized so many different ways. And 2, I just feel like if you're going to deal from that position of depth, you could have gone so many different routes. And I'm not saying that I think Horowitz stinks. I actually think he will make that position better. He gives them a leadoff hitter. He gives them stability at first base, a fine glove. But for the route that they took, they could have got so much better of a return. And it would have allowed them to make better moves following had they gone different routes. So now it's like, yeah, do you really want another young left-handed bat? You got a lot of them already. You know, do you there were so many veteran first basemen that I thought they could have acquired this offseason. They would have looked great in the middle of the order. And instead they got a leadoff hitter for the next 3 years.
Maybe.
Who we don't even know is a good major league player.
Yeah. Again, I don't hate the move. Like I think there's enough there that, and you don't hate it either. I don't think. No.
Yeah, I hate it in the sense where it's like if I known that the following circumstances would occur, I would have hated it a lot more. Like it's just like the move
go
makes
back
a lot
to that time frame.
No, but the move makes a lot more sense if you're going to pair that with actually spending money.
And that's what I'm saying. Go back to that time frame. It's the winter meetings, and we all had our various thoughts on it. But I think what all of us said was the cool thing about it is the money's even. It's like the upgrade of the position without really spending money. Well, but what I'm saying is like, so the next, like the move's coming. They have the funds. They're going to target that.
I guess.
Bigger.
I mean,
right?
if you listen to everything they said, though,
and they never did.
Yeah, if you listen to everything they said, from reporting, from source reporting, from myself, Andrew, Alex, to things they literally said on record, like free agency was never going to be a priority this offseason. They said, like, you could go back and read everything that Ben talked about the day after the regular season ended. He said the more aggressive moves are going to come through trades. That's how it always was. And that's why you were with me, DiNardo, when the trade went down. I had the feeling, I'm like, that's their big move. And I thought maybe a second one will come. But I just don't see them trading another. If it's going to be another trade, it's going to have to be dealing like low-level prospects. Because they're not going to have – I think it would be very unwise for them to take another one of those starters out of the mix. And that's where if you're going to trade one of them, maybe you should have traded a better one of them for a better everyday player. Like if you want to trade a young guy with control, trade your best young guy with control, not named Paul Skeens. And you probably would have got a better young guy with control than Spencer Horwitz. And like that's why I look back at that move, because it just set a tone for now. It's like now you have to kind of spend money, right? And I don't think they ever really planned to add on a ton through free agency.
Yeah, so I don't think, well, obviously none of the complaints are about Horwitz as a player. Like I think we all think he could be an above average hitter. I guess my question here as we're sitting at February 5th, like less than 3 weeks or what, we're like close to a week from pitchers and catchers reporting. So sitting here where we're at right now.
We are exactly 1 week away.
Okay. Yep. Well, sitting here right now with everything that's happened, I don't know about you, but I don't feel like Ben Sherrington is acting like someone whose back's against the wall.
No, I've been saying this.
The hell out of me.
I've been saying this.
He seems comfortable as can be.
Yeah. I mean, it's not just through their personnel decisions. You don't hire 3 new management positions in your baseball operations staff if you think there's a chance you're going to get fired next year. You just don't do that. They rebuilt their front office this offseason. And if you include the promotion of Justin Horowitz, who, I mean, when was he promoted? Like early 2024, I believe, to amateur scouting. I mean, their whole management level is entirely different. You don't make those changes if you think you're on your way out. You don't sign up to work for someone if you think they're going to be fired in a year. The coaching staff's a little different because those guys, they're used to changing on a dime in a span of 1 year. People who work in front offices aren't typically going spot to spot to spot every year. They're looking for somewhere to set up shop for a little bit. So, no, I don't get the indication that, I mean, if they lose 100 games, yeah, he'll get fired.
Yeah.
But if they keep winning more games than they did the last 2 seasons, I say 2 seasons because they had the same exact record.
Right.
But if they go 80 and 82, I don't think Cherington's anywhere close to going. I just don't. Because, and that's not off of a ton of what I've heard. It's more just read the writing on the wall. Like, they haven't made any move this offseason that indicates that there is a true urgency other than that, let's run it. I really think the belief is we still believe in our model. 2024 was worst case scenario and everything. Before the year started, they lost 2 guys to Tommy John. You get to spring training, injuries, guys get sick. They start the year in a funk and can't recover. Then you had a couple of guys who got in the worst hitting slumps of their lives and mentally couldn't bounce out of it. And then you got Ke'Brien's back, it's always broken. So, it was just a perfect storm. And they were like, in a way, and I kind of do agree with this. In a way, it's impressive that they won 76 games. When you consider everything that disappointed. They brought in a 20 home run hitting center fielder who couldn't hit over 200. They brought in their first baseman, who was one of the worst players in the National League for half of the season. Their bullpen, which was supposed to be the greatest strength of the team, was arguably its biggest weakness, and especially in the key parts of the year. Just everything went wrong. Almost every single power bat in the lineup, the guys they envisioned to give them slugging, from Henry Davis to Ke'Bryan Hayes to Jack Sawinski to Tellez and Taylor, none of them delivered anything. And they still won 76 games and probably should have won a lot more when you think about all the close games they pissed away.
Right.
So in a weird way, that might be, so in a weird way, they didn't really lose anyone of significance from last year, aside from Chapman. And I actually do believe their bullpen can be better from last year. Or I don't know. I don't think it could be worse. So I think that they're just like, let's run that back again. Put more emphasis on the guys that we believe in. And we think that we can be in a position at the deadline to make more aggressive moves, and maybe we'll have a little bit more money to spend this time. Which I think is a really dumb strategy, by the way. But that's kind of what I'm saying.
And that's what I was going to get here.
And you don't operate that way if you think you're going to be fired.
No.
Well, right. But and not to beat the dead horse here, but that's kind of like my problem. I think that's the variations with Pirates fans looking at this also. Why, because today it seemed like there was this big division in Pirates Twitter, which is kind of crazy, right? But not to go too deep into that, but it's just I think all those things can happen too. Can this bullpen be better than last year? Sure. Can the starting pitchers be better? Absolutely. Can the offense be better? Absolutely. Can this team win 85 games? Absolutely. There's reasons that it can happen, but just there's so much variance still to this team. That was the problem last year, the year before. There's so many variants, right? And there's nothing here providing some insurance. So my biggest problem with this offseason is that it better happen, because you're not doing anything right now to prepare yourself for the next year's excuses, right? When this 2025, where this went wrong that you weren't expecting, because again, if anything of 2024 showed you, it's that things can go wrong. Things absolutely can. It is baseball. So if you have $20 million left to play with under $100 million payroll, right? Where they're at right now, utilize that. Give yourself some assurance, right? You're not putting yourself in the best position going into the season to be confident. You're saying, if this happens, if this happens, if that happens, and those things can happen. But just like we saw last year, other things can also happen as well. What if Brian Reynolds goes down for 4 months?
Or O'Neal.
Hell.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Or
Like, you know
any
what I mean?
of your pitchers.
What if Paul Ski, like that's, so then all you're doing is saying, well, the reason we didn't do it this year is because, this happened and that happened. Okay. Well, you had every opportunity in the offseason to maybe hedge that bet a little bit.
Yeah. Or just get better. You don't have to just be a certain level of good. You can always be better.
But
the Dodgers won the World Series.
Right.
They made themselves a lot better.
And for those that think like, well, you have to understand how the Pirates operate and the constraints they have. And sure, but like you're at $80 million. You're less than what you even were last year.
That's a bullshit excuse too. Because it's like you look at the Rays after they're in a World Series. They're making moves that they believe will make them better in 2021.
You're preaching to the choir here.
No, I know. I'm just saying.
Give their point validation.
Right.
You're less than what you were last year. Like if you even content with this roster right now, why just be content?
And I think I want to make 2 points here. One, what you just said, I hope you're right. You better be right. So I have a story running Sunday that's going to be like our big spring training preview. And that was the entire message of it. Because I've been sitting for like two weeks. I've been sitting for like 2 weeks thinking, like, what is the story of this year's team? Right? Because last year things were optimistic.
Yeah.
People weren't satisfied. They still felt they could have done more.
Mm-hmm.
If they had got one more starting pitcher, I feel like fans would have been very excited. But I mean, you look at it on paper, Tellez was a reclamation project and they should have brought back Carlos Santana, but like there was reason to think like, okay, maybe he could be as good as Santana was last year or as good as Daniel Vogelbach was during his time here. Something like that. Like that wasn't out of the imagination here. And Michael A. Taylor was like a nice little unexpected addition where you're like, yeah, I know you were dead on. I will give you props there. But like for a last second addition, you're adding in a Gold Glove caliber center fielder who's coming off a 20 home run season. That's not a bad $4 million purchase on March 16th. It just isn't for any team. Right. It just didn't work out well. And then you have Hayes coming off the best year of his major league career. Sawinski coming off the best year of his major league career. You get a first full year of O'Neal Cruz at full health, albeit you didn't know what to expect from him, but you're expecting one of your premier power hitters to be playing shortstop. How many teams in baseball can say that? There was so much more. And then you have Jones and Skeens both coming up. And I know that no one in their right mind expected Skeens to be this good, or maybe even Jones to be that good. But they had to have known they were going to be good, right? They'd seen them more than us. So there was so much optimism. Whereas this year, this is the most negativity I've seen connected to the Pirates from their own fans in my life, which is truly saying something as far as an offseason is concerned. Now, it's gotten bad, when you think of the collapses in 2012 and 2011, or even this past year, and the 20 years of losing were bad. But as far as just outright frustration, it's never been worse than this year.
No.
And it's because everyone thinks that they're wrong. And so my message of this, the story of this team is, come February 12th, that marks the beginning of your tour of saying, I was right. This is your opportunity. Because if you're wrong, you've got an entire fan base who will say, we told you, we weren't waiting to see, we knew it was going to happen. And what in the world were you thinking? And so that's the story. They're out to prove every single person wrong. Nationally, locally. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. It's just, I can't believe that that's the narrative for this team. Because it shouldn't have been. It shouldn't have been. There were so many small moves that could have been made. And you would have had the exact same feeling that everyone had last year at this time.
Noah, your article should just be a giant, we're here. Like we've arrived. Something like that. Because we've been talking about it since COVID years of 2025 is the year where this team's going to step forward. Like we wanted them to do it in 23. It felt like we were getting there.
2024.
It was, but by 2025, that's when they're competing for the playoffs, and that's when we're getting really into it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just so tired of the excuses, man. And I know, like, we have to listen to them, but like, it's the old Mike Tomlin, like, you give me red paint, I'm going to paint the barn red. You guys bought the red paint.
Yeah.
Like, you bought all the crap.
Well, they got it on waivers from Boston, but yeah.
Or Toronto.
Yeah.
But 3 places.
You can come up with all the excuses of everything that has gone wrong over the last 2 years, and they do it left and right on why they should have been better. You guys are the ones that acquired these guys who didn't perform. You're the ones who coached them. I'm tired of the excuses, man. Like, it's not working anymore. I feel like I say that way too often.
It's never worked.
No, it's never worked.
When was it ever worked? Yeah.
Like, I mean,
13,
even like
14 and 15.
Yeah. No, that's a different group. There's one person who was around back then, and he plays an entirely different position, and his hair's different. So, yeah.
That was legitimately lightning in a bottle.
No, I mean, that was earned.
That was,
13,
I mean, like,
no, if you look at how they got there.
Man, like Jeff Locke pitched out his butt.
No, that's true. But if you look,
Edinson Volquez pitched out his butt.
They were leading the charge in innovation at the beginning.
There was a plan.
They were.
So
we didn't really see the plan, but they had one.
They had a plan, and that's the frustrating thing. And I get like, I'm not sitting here defending Bob Nutting. Make no mistake about that.
Mm-hmm.
But like, and I know it's been said, it's probably been said on this show, like the ceiling as we know it under Nutting is 98 wins. The only team in baseball that won 98 games last year was the Dodgers. You know, so it's like if the Pirates played to their ceiling of potential under this current ownership in this new MLB format for the postseason, at worst, they're getting a best of 3 game series. And you could point out all the roster flaws. Now, a best of 3 game series against this team is really a best of 2 because Paul Skeens is winning his game. So they're a team that no one wants to face in that type of format.
Right.
So it's more, I think it's management. They're not thinking, I mean, their scouting has been really bad under this regime. From the amateur level through international, I don't know if there actually has been any international scouting, to professional. I mean, all the players that they've researched to a certain extent. Now, they've had their wins on the pitching side. There's no denying that. Through acquisition, through drafting, or through trade acquisition, through drafting. But as far as position player scouting, from a draft perspective, from international, through all of that, they just haven't been right. And you can compare that to the last regime. And I know that some of these scouts are still here. But so it's either they haven't adapted or they just lost their touch. Because 10 years ago, they did identify talent a lot better. They identified trends within the game. They like invented shifting. There's a reason a rule exists now. And they identified a pitching strategy that would allow them to develop your Jeff Locks into all-star pitchers, albeit didn't last for long, or develop reclamation projects to be good enough to revitalize their careers, to go get good contracts in their 30s from other teams that were competitive at that time. So they were doing things right. It wasn't always broken. It's just been broken since 2020.
Right.
You know what? I think a better way about your article saying
I've already written and filed it, so I'm not changing it now.
No,
thank you.
I am not offering any suggestions other than the fact that even looking back, though, and I know I just said my little piece about lightning in a bottle, but you go back to 2014, you let AJ Burnett walk, you sign Edinson Volquez, you better be right. They were right.
Yeah.
Like that example right there is there. And the part that really frustrates me, and I know it frustrates everyone, Paul Skeens is here, man. You got to spend money.
Yeah.
Paul Skeens is here.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the piece that's already here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the window. I'm tired of hearing about kicking the can down the road.
Yeah.
The window's here.
But another thing that's different with this regime is, like you mentioned, the Volquez thing. or Burnett, you let him walk. It's like you also have to look at like what they had coming up back then.
Whoa, yeah,
right.
True.
It's like you look at their farm system during that run. They had a lot more of a reason to let a Russell Martin leave in free agency, to trade away a Neil Walker, to let an AJ Burnett walk in 14. Because it's like, okay, well, we've got Tyone coming up. We've got all of these prospects, Glass Meadows. Yeah, just all of these guys who were high rated in the system, where it's like the farm system isn't as good as it was back then. It just isn't, especially in year 5. Look at when was 5th year of Neil? Was that 2012? I want to say would have been, or
2011. Yeah.
Yeah. Look at what the farm system was in Neil's 5th year compared to Ben's. It was just better. It just was. I mean, Marte wasn't even up at opening day 2012.
Yeah, and it's irrelevant.
Garrett Cole wasn't up back then. Like the best players that regime produced, most of them weren't even up yet in 2012. And maybe that's the case this time, but the wave of talent, you don't have anything to fall back on. You don't have the innovation that the last regime fell back on. You don't have the reclamation success that the last regime fell back on. You don't have the development success that the last regime fell back on. You don't have the consistent waves of talent. And that's why I think it was required to lean more on exterior. They have less of a reason to believe in themselves than the only other regime we've seen succeed under this ownership. And so I don't get why they felt the confidence to bet on themselves, other than the idea of they knew even if they were wrong, they were still going to be okay.
Even with that,
by the way, just some breaking news. Mets and Alonso agreement.
I heard the Pirates reached out. I actually didn't. Don't be mean to me on Twitter.
I'm clipping that. Nope. It's done.
That's fine. Bucko Mike's going to challenge me to more Papa Shot.
There it is.
Can't have it.
If I can say
no, like that all is fair. And like, I give the argument, and this kind of goes to you, about the farm system. Well, Paul Skeens lasted in the farm for like 2 months, and that's fair. He's on the major league team. Like, Ben's not afforded the opportunity to still have the best pitcher on the world, basically, in his farm system, but he's on the major league roster. He helped them to get to just the 76 wins last year, So it's like, that's kind of the issue too, like you're talking about, and things can change. But like, what was so nice about the Pirates back then was they were a really good baseball team, and they had a really good farm. And right now, this team is just like stuck in the middle as far as major league talent. Like, they're not good, they're not bad, and there's a lot of people like, oh, they're gonna lose 100 games this year. Like you talked about earlier, like that I don't see in play. We talk about things that can happen. Them losing 100 games, I feel just like I can't fathom that. It's virtually impossible. I feel like the way they're set up to do that. But again, like, they're not good. They're just kind of like in the middle right now, and the farm's the same way. So like, again, that's like this frustration. It's like, you're not really all that great, and there's not all that great coming up yet still either. Where back then the Pirates, like, you still had a future. It's like, wow, like this could, which did not happen by any means, but like you're talking back then, like this could be a 10-year dynasty the Pirates have. Holy hell, look what's happening.
Yeah.
Turned out to be 3 years. But, like that's what you envision. That.
But I mean, they weren't wrong to believe that. You look at the players from that regime who were prospects toward the end, a lot of them are still playing baseball.
That's true.
Like, do you think that this regime, if it were to end at this year, that the prospects and guys around would still be playing in the major leagues 5-6 years after it was done? Like, how many 10-year pros has this regime developed compared to the last one?
Well, a lot still remains to be seen.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not as confident as I was back then with those players.
Correct.
And it's not just that, like the trade pieces that you have, or they had back in 2013 to 2015, and they didn't capitalize on all of them.
Well,
and they missed on a lot of things. But like Noah's alluding to, they had all that talent. They had a stockpile of assets that they could work with. Right now, it's money. Money is your asset.
Yeah.
And there's not much of it.
Financial flexibility is their asset.
Yeah.
People don't like when I say that, but that's the truth. They have more of it now than ever.
You know how frustrating it is? We've been through 2 GMs in like 15 years, and we still hear financial flexibility.
Well, I mean, yeah, there's one common reason for that.
Is it the college?
No, it's the ski resort. R.I.P.
No, I mean, like,
Yeah.
Huntington and Ben Sherrington went to the same college.
Oh, yeah, that's right. No.
Maybe
I
they're
knew where
teaching
was
that
going
there.
with
I don't
that.
know.
I didn't know they went to the same college.
I'm pretty sure they did. What is
Yeah,
it? Amherst?
there's
or-
a lot of similarities between the two,
They're the same person.
but
One was
just
a
slightly
little bit
different.
better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, how about this? I felt like that went a little bit longer than I anticipated.
Okay.
But great conversation. Again, I appreciate your perspective on all this. I feel like you have something to say.
Well, I was going to say, I feel like we're about to wrap up here in like the next 5-10 minutes. I have one question I want to ask you guys before it ends. It doesn't have to be now, but just let me know when I can ask this question because it's going to lead to some good discussion.
Okay. Well, I was going to ask, I did want to talk because spring coming up, and we really didn't touch on that like at all, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And again, you're going to be down there. We'll be down there on the 22nd. We get in. What are some things you're looking for in spring from whomever? Like, what are some things you are focusing, you're honing in, you want to see out of spring training this season?
I want to see me filing stories as early as possible and getting to the golf course. No. What do I want to see? I want to see Brian Hayes look healthy. I want to see O'Neal Cruz play in center field. I want to see Jack Sawinski, period. Because, I mean, I think that if this team can get 2023 Jack Sawinski, it's going to be exponentially better. Like, if they could pick one person to have the best year of their career in 2025, Jack Sawinski should be the pick. Because he fixes a lot of problems for them if he can just be the guy. Right. But they need him to be that guy. And I don't know if he can be. I mean, I'm excited to see some of the new relievers because they did not have a lefty on lefty guy they could really rely on. They had one really good they had one solid left-handed reliever last year, and he was just a leverage arm. He wasn't a lefty on lefty situational guy. The guys that they depended on to be that, Barucki and Beeks, just weren't for one reason or another. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot to look into. I mean, that's the fun part about covering a team that is littered with if guys. Is there's a direct storyline to every single individual. Whereas some teams you just highlight, okay, well, we know we're going to get this, this, and this, and this from these 4 or 5 guys. And that's going to get us 70 of the 90 plus wins we need to make the playoffs. For this team, it's like, we know like 4 or 5 guys are going to be worth at least 2 wins, but we got to figure out where the hell the rest of these are coming from. And there's about a dozen guys who could be worth at least 1 to 2 WAR, but of that same ilk, those same exact players could be worth negative 1 to 2 WAR, and not many people would be surprised. So I'm just excited to see everyone because that's been the story. They've bet on the same guys. Well, let's see who got better. I'm excited to see Matt Haig in action. I'm excited to see Brett Strom in action. I'm excited to see these young arms. Is Braxton Ashcraft healthy? How is Michael Burrows going to be used? Can Bubba Chandler do what Jared Jones did last spring? And if so, what do they do? Because they still might be better off starting him in AAA if Johan Oviedo and Bailey Falter look good, right? So there's a lot to follow for sure, because they've kind of drawn it up where I'm familiar with everyone who's really going to be a big piece to this puzzle, win or lose.
No, you just got me fired up. I'm ready to go again.
Yeah,
I'm ready, man.
He just said all these ifs, and I'm like, yeah, that could happen. Yeah, that could happen.
It could.
As well. Oh,
mm-hmm.
We could get to 90. We could get to 90 wins. Like
we
could.
They could.
Like
yeah.
Everything goes well. 90 wins is possible. But I do want to ask you. You wrote an article with talking to with some quotes from Paul Skeens and Jared Jones. A lot of talking about the fastball. What are vibes like right now with that staff? Like big vibes guy, but Also, they just seem like a group that's just going to throw gas, man.
Yes, and I think
They
it's
just want to throw
very
gas.
it's interesting with those two that you mentioned because those are two alphas, right? Skeens and Jones. And those are guys who've been, there's always those kids that when you play baseball growing up, you can tell it's like, oh, that kid, when he was 10, he played up with the 11 and 12-year-olds. That kid, when he was a freshman, he was on varsity. And they knew how to act accordingly in those situations. And so Skeens and Jones, they acted accordingly as rookies. They were like, okay, you know what? Like, you want to be the leader and say we don't do that here, that's fine. You can go do that. But like, after my rookie season's done, this is my team, and it's going to be operating differently. And we're going to carry ourselves with a little bit of a different swagger, and we're going to carry ourselves with a different attitude on the field too, that was perhaps missing in 2024. And I think that that's where they're going. I mean, this starting rotation knows that it's the heartbeat. They know that they carry the burden of being, the ultimate factor. And if this team makes the playoffs or not. And they like it. And because of that, because of the weight on their shoulders, and because of just, the caliber of their abilities, they get to be I want to say a phrase that I shouldn't. So they get to be the alphas in the clubhouse. And I think that's going to be fun because this team was missing an alpha last year. And I think that they're going to have at least two this year with Jones and Skeens, who will maybe, if a guy makes a mistake on the base paths or costs the team a run or, need some accountability, they can provide it. And I think that as weird as it is, and it doesn't show up on the the advanced analytics Excel sheets, like that can equate to a couple more wins here or there, is just a little bit more of a collective buy-in and just knowing that like, hey, I really got to lock in a little bit more and attention to detail, because that was missing last year. So that's when you
entire regime.
Yeah. When you look at this rotation on top of the skill, on top of like what you said, throwing gas, it's the attitude that allows one to say that, right? The sit the F down mentality that's really been missing here.
I'm glad you brought it up, because all that you're talking about just reminds me of AJ. Like,
right.
That's why I loved AJ. I thought he meant so much to the clubhouse.
Yeah, and these guys aren't going to be exactly like AJ in the sense where it's like AJ came to Pittsburgh as a World Series champion. He came as a former All-Star and a big league vet for probably what was like a decade at least by then, right?
Right.
I mean, he almost had 2,000 career strikeouts before he even put on a Pirate uniform. These guys don't have that, but they also know it's like, look, I know we're young, but we also know that we're the best players on this team. And if we make the playoffs, it's going to be because of us. So get on my back, buckle up, and don't fuck up the journey. Sorry for the swearing.
But also, like, that's also a Derek Shelton thing where he's going to have to, this is going to have to be a very good managerial job, because very quickly that could turn ugly if those two guys are the alphas. Yeah. Like, there's going to be jealousy in that clubhouse.
Not even jealousy. There's just, those guys want to win.
But there's going to be the veterans that they're not going to follow the 23, 22-year-olds.
What veterans?
Well, that's also
true.
That's the question.
There are journeymen.
Who?
Yeah, there aren't any.
It's the same team. It's the same team from last year.
You know what? You're right.
With a couple of guys who are like, bullpen guys. It's like, you know what? If Tim Meza doesn't buy into Paul Steen's leadership, not going to affect much. Where they're like the guys that they've got.
Brian Reynolds and Brian Hayes.
They're going to do what they've been doing. Like that's the thing. It's not like, I mean, it's the same nucleus. It's just, they're waiting for someone to step up. And I think that those guys don't want to be the ones, like Reynolds has said it himself. He's just not a guy who's a vocal leader, but Brian Reynolds can be a good supplementary leader where it's like, dude, just be like Brian, show up every day, play every day, produce every day. That's the leader. You need those guys too. It's just, and you can't make Brian Reynolds go out there and give a rah-rah speech every day. But Paul Skeens he knows
Nice.
what winning is. So he's got to go out there and demand it, I guess.
Noah, you talked me into it all the way. This is the perfect team for those two guys to lead in the battle. You talked me
it's
into it.
the only team they have a chance to do it for right now. So
yeah, but you know what I mean. Like if they had a group of older guys that, if it was a 2022 team, it might not work. Or 2023, I should say, with Carlos Santana and some other guys. But regardless, go ahead.
But again, that was the reason.
Right.
Well, staying with the pitching, you bring up Bubba and like the Jones track, and I think he has every possible way of doing that. We know the talent that's already there. But I almost look at it also like if he does, I almost feel like something went wrong. Jones doing it last year was just because out of need. And
right.
He rose.
Exactly.
And it's like, oh, well, our hands are tied, but there really isn't the need this year. There shouldn't be. So again, like if Bubba's starting, I almost feel like, well, that's probably not a good thing. I would much rather him take his time, do the Skeens route because we don't really need you right now. Let's stretch those innings out. We need you in hopefully October. But with that said, I want to transition just to something like that. Any news, any update on Oviedo? It's kind of been mum. He's going to be a big X factor for this team as well because there's talent there. He provides solid depth. Any news or updates on Oviedo?
I wouldn't say specifically on Oviedo, but like one thing that stuck with me from the winter meetings and I think is very smart is, and I'll give credit. Alex asked this question to Ben, was, they always talk about positional versatility on the position player side, right? Like guys who can play 3-4 spots in the infield, outfield. But it's like, if your greatest strength's pitching, why not have more position flexibility on the mound? And I look at a guy like Oviedo, who's coming off TJ because he threw a ridiculously high career innings mark. He jumped up from 22 to 23.
He was half of the rotation.
Right. Bailey Falter is a year removed from making a similar sizable jump. Mike Burrows is a guy who is not long removed from Tommy John. And there's so many guys that I think if you can get yourself to a spot where it's by July, you have Skeens, Jones, Keller, Chandler. Those are 4 guys who even on their off day should be able to get you to the 6th.
Right.
You don't need a 5th starter. I mean, you do, but if you just have like 3 long relievers who can kind of be interchanged, and some of them, just by the way that things play out, they might be available for 5-6 ups. But having that type of versatility, and I think Oviedo is like the poster child for that. Oviedo, I think, should be used like Luis Ortiz, except maybe opposite as far as time. I think you use him as a starter in the beginning of the year. And then once you bring the babies up from AAA, the youngsters, when they're stretched out and their arms are a little fresher, you could say, look, we appreciate what you did. We still view you as a starter. And as soon as one of these guys goes down or struggles, they have options. They're going back. Right. They're going back to St. Elmo's and you're back in the starting rotation. But I just look at Oviedo as a guy he was a very good starter in 2023, but could you imagine him in the 7th inning role?
Yes.
Right.
We have
like there is that flexibility that they have there where it's like if these 9 starters that we talk about, they're probably 9 of the 20 best pitchers in your org, maybe 9 of the top 15 pitchers in your org. Then if you have a team that is going to live or die by its pitching, all of them should play at impact when they're major league ready. And that means using some in the bullpen. So when you bring up Oviedo, he just plays into this mentality that I have where it's like the only people I think should be starter or nothing are Skeens, Jones, Keller, and Chandler. And I think even down the road, we could even narrow that gap. We can even narrow that to 3 people in a little bit. I'm not ready to have that conversation just yet, though.
Okay, good.
Also,
I'm not either.
Yeah.
It also limits the innings that Oviedo is going to have to eat this year coming off Tommy John.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean,
that's why
I love Oviedo in that role.
Yeah, you do the opposite Luis Ortiz. And I know that's a tough sell for a guy, especially if he goes and he has a really strong start. But if you start the season with that lineup, like you let him know, look, we've got a certain number of innings we got to keep you at because we believe you're an important part for the future here. And we can't have you getting hurt 1 year back.
Right.
This is how we intend on using you. We've got other starters who we're going to use later in the year. And you know how starting rotations get by August and September. I mean,
that's why
this is a strategy that would prevent from Jake Woodford and Domingo Herman starting again.
I'm good with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I love that. Yeah. And that's what's kind of cool is like, I feel like there's multiple people that can be in that role this year.
Bailey Falter
you
could
talk about
do that.
him.
Yeah.
Ashcraft is like a poster child as well.
Perfect.
Almost.
Burrows.
Yeah. But like the thing about that too is just like you talk about in the 7th inning, like Ortiz, I didn't really envision it too much, especially after the season's coming off of, but like Oviedo, if starting pitching doesn't work out for him, like that guy to me can be such an elite reliever.
Yes.
What a weapon,
Yep.
And I feel like Ashcraft, like, of course,
Ashcraft could too. Yeah.
He's, you're going to give him every opportunity to be a starter also. But yeah, like those are weapons, because there's so much depth, you can also start putting that into the bullpen. And we saw how valuable Luis Ortiz was last year. And now he's not here. So who's going to take that role? Yeah. Make a very good point there. Oviedo, I think, is certainly a poster child, but there's multiples that can do that. Cool.
I like it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to all that as well.
Can I ask my
I'm
question
excited
now?
though. I was going to, yes, go ahead.
All right. So I asked this on Bucko Banner. I want to hear your guys' answer. So the Pirates have spent $10.67 million in free agency, which is just under a fifth, I believe, of what Juan Soto will make this year.
Yeah.
So if you could take 1/5 of Juan Soto physically and give it to a player on the Pirates roster. So say like the first fifth is his nose is up. So you could give his eyes, his vision at the plate to someone. Second fifth could be like, chest, arms. So you could give his hand speed to someone. His third fifth would be his core, maybe a stronger back for someone. Fourth would be his thighs, like his lower body strength. And fifth would be his feet. I don't know, like footwork. Give someone the ability to do the Soto shuffle. What fifth are you taking away from Juan Soto, and who are you giving it to on the Pirates 40-man roster?
This is easy for me, but you have an answer to that, don't you?
So ironically, I listened to that episode.
Okay.
I heard something. I want to have Tyler go first then, because I feel like I'm kind of cheating right now.
Yeah, well, I did not listen to that episode, but I feel like the answer is obvious.
That's why you're not invited to the group chat.
Yep.
You know what?
Not a real friend.
No.
Well, maybe if I was invited to the group chat, I would have known the show was happening.
Well, yeah, there's no other way to know a podcast is posted.
Sure isn't. Not in my world.
Okay.
I'm a simple folk. But in my, the obvious thing I think is just giving his eyes to O'Neal Cruz, man. Like, giving O'Neal Cruz that walk rate would be silly. Not to mention the eyes lead to the feet. And we know he's nimble enough. He could do the Soto shuffle, the O'Neal Cruz shuffle.
I don't think the Soto shuffle means much other than cool factor. And O'Neal's already very cool. But I hear what you're saying.
But can you imagine like 6'7" O'Neal Cruz? Like that'd be elite.
Couldn't imagine seeing him do exactly what you just saw there. But yes.
That was very athletic, by the way.
That was good. And minimal noise too.
I know, right?
Yeah.
Very light on the feet. I'm nimble.
Yeah. Denardo, what do you think?
This is so again, it's I heard you talk about it, and when you said this, no, I'm like, this makes a whole lot of sense. And it goes back to what you said earlier today, that like if you could make Jack Sawinski that dude, that solves so many problems.
Yeah.
And
so what do you need to give Jack?
What are you giving him?
Are you giving him vision? Or are you giving him the hands?
So your argument on there is also the same, because like he doesn't make enough contact. So I guess eyes, but is it the hands?
I'd give him hands. I'd give him eyes, because I think he
because like I feel like he has decent eyes. He just doesn't swing enough. But like when he does swing, he doesn't make contact enough. We need to give him whatever's going to make him do that from Juan Soto. But if it's going to be just a third, I guess I'm going with the hands. But I like that answer. I'm giving the hands. I guess that, what did you call it? The arms, the second of the 2/5, the second fifths, whatever. Yeah, I'm giving that to Jack, because if that's going to get Jack to consistently being what he was in 2023, then like you said, this solves so much. is taking O'Neal Cruz, and I know I'm stealing your answers, but that's why made a whole lot of sense. Is making O'Neal Cruz like the 5-6 WAR player going to make the big difference, or is it going to be like turning
a
Jack
-2 WAR player to a +3 WAR player? Yeah,
that makes so much sense. So that, but I would love to give Brian Reynolds the shuffle.
Yeah, my final answer was just give Brian Hayes a healthy back.
I was going to ask, can we give health?
Yeah, well, no, just if you give him the middle fifth portion, just giving, to my knowledge, Juan Soto no back issues.
But also, isn't that such a waste?
That would be the equivalent of 3 WAR right there. Just Brian being healthy.
But you can have one part of Juan Soto, and Brian Hayes can already field and have 2 wins. You're getting an extra win. I'd rather
you're getting 2 at least from just having him be out there, and also you get the core
availability.
Strength.
Are you?
Yeah.
Can the guy hit though? We're not giving him talent; we're giving him health.
If he has a good back, I think he can hit enough.
I don't know. I haven't seen enough of it though.
Here's but think about this. I get where you're going with this. I'm here to be the voice of reason. Without the back, he doesn't exist on this roster because he's not playing. So this comes to the availability thing. So if it's not Cabrine, then who do you have playing third base? And all those questions you have, or even more.
What if we included hand speed and gave it to Paul Skeens?
That's what I was going to say. Can we get a new Shohei here? I was wondering, do we go hands or eyes? Because I feel like hand speed wise, Paul Skeens probably has pretty good hand speed.
I would also feel like he probably can. He was a catcher, so I'd assume his eyes are probably pretty good.
Yeah, but
what if Paul Skeens is just a top 9 hitter already on the team?
Yeah, can we just give him Juan Soto's hitting ability?
See, it's a stupid question on paper, but it gets the people going.
It's
the chat is blowing up with these questions and their takes. Yeah.
I think Paul.
I agree with Jim. If we're talking realistically, he has maybe the best plate vision ever.
Yeah,
or at least since that was a valued attribute in the game of baseball.
Ooh, I got a new one.
So I just feel like
if you give that to O'Neal Cruz, though,
just give it to someone who's fast and they can just get on base.
O'Neal Cruz.
Yeah,
I have what I want to give from Juan Soto to a Pirate. I have it. Okay. I want to give Juan Soto's age to Andrew McCutchen.
That's not a fifth of his physical.
It's not a body.
Nope. Yeah. I said part of it. I did not say a fifth of his body.
That's not part of the question.
But I'm asking my own question.
Okay. I mean, I want to give Shohei Ohtani's athleticism to Alika Williams, but that's not where we're playing.
Oh, I said
you give Juan Soto's arms to Alika Williams.
Yeah. I mean, if we gave Alika Williams Juan Soto's hands, he'd probably be really good too.
How many of the fifths do you need to give to Alika Williams before he could be worth 3 WAR?
3?
I think 2.
Well, he needs the arms because he has to have some sort of power. So he needs the arms. And then what else would he need?
No, the power comes from the lower half. So you could give him the lower half,
eyes and hands,
and the eyes.
But then he could also throw the baseball.
He's fine in the field.
He's fine. I think I broke the game here. I'm giving Andrew McCutchen Juan Soto's age.
Yeah.
I'm the winner. Well, congratulations to Tyler.
Instead of, because you got to go the fifths, what if you entertain that? I guess it's still, because I don't know, the speed's still somewhat different. What if you gave
Soto's not fast?
Who is giving speed from Juan Soto to
No, I'm talking about Kutch. What if you gave him Soto's
He's
legs?
Not fast either.
Their younger legs. I don't know.
Why are you building up on a 38-year-old player? Why wouldn't you invest skill in someone who's going to be under contract after
just entertaining
October 2025?
Tyler's answer here.
Actually, another one I would like to give.
And yes, Alika Williams was DFA'd. I just wanted to give a shout out to my dog. All right. Sorry, chat.
Can I actually give the hands to Henry Davis?
You don't want to give them these hands because he'll give them right back.
I kind of need Henry Davis to get the Juan Soto hands, and then you have a catcher who can hit or a right fielder. And then Jim's not so angry all the time because
Henry needs the eyes more than anything because he couldn't hit a middle fastball last year.
No, I think his bat speed stinks.
Yeah, but pitch identification probably plays a factor in bat speed, I would have to imagine. When you see what you're trying to hit, you could swing a little faster. Yeah, the eyes are the yes, Jim is correct. The eyes are the actual answer. I like having other people give other answers, though, because it adds to a fun conversation.
You're all wrong. I'm right.
You didn't answer the question.
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I said O'Neal Cruz's eyes.
Oh, yeah, that is the actual correct
No, that's
answer.
that's the real answer. I just had to.
Or just get anyone. Giving anyone his plate vision is a difference maker.
Yeah, you're creating a new Brian Giles. Oh,
there's another way to create another Brian Giles. You just gotta, hide some things.
Yeah.
What's going on, Tim Laker?
Guys, spring training's around the corner.
Yes, sir.
I'm excited. Baseball is going to happen. You know why I'm really excited too? Because there's actually things to talk about. Because there's going to be real, actual baseball that we can talk about instead of nothing happening. That's why I'm really excited. Because for 3 months we've had the same show. We've actually just recorded this and hit play every Monday morning and every Wednesday night. You guys have been fooled and tricked this entire time. So that's why I'm really excited about baseball coming back.
Me too. As someone who's a write about it for a living, it's kind of nice to have new stuff happen. Seriously, I get to talk to people, which is cool. In person, and there's something new happening every day. Haven't experienced that since September, so that'll be fun. Get to be with my pals. You guys.
You mean Donardo and Jim because I'm not in the group chat.
You're not.
Correct.
And you're not going to be if you keep up with this attitude.
Love it. Well, one thing's for sure. If you're in the group chat, you get free Noah driveline lessons from Dave & Buster's. So,
buddy. There's going to be one day where we all go down to a Dave & Buster's while we're all down there. And
I feel like when you do that.
Yeah, no. I mean, my birthday is March 16th, so I'd like it to be that day.
Oh.
Yeah, you guys will all be down there. So
just by the way, this is my biggest gripe, and it's all because of Tyler. The reason why we go down so early. That's the best absolute weekend to be there. It's
the best weekend, period. I mean, it's March Madness, St. Patrick's Day, spring training. Right. It's great. The weather is great. Yeah.
We've always gone. I love
all the spring breakers are gone.
Yeah, Bradenton closed down. They have a parade there. All the bars and stuff are open. It's a great, wonderful time. I might be there, actually. Me and my wife might be going down that weekend. Maybe.
Let's go.
So, if so, I'll ditch her. We'll go to Dave & Buster's for your birthday.
Sounds good. Bucko Mike, you better be there. Bucko Mike, you better be there. I'll destroy you in Papa Shot, Bucko Mike. I will destroy you. Pull up. Love you.
I don't see any comments from him anymore.
Yeah, he was saying stuff recently.
I think he's at the casino. He was DMing me.
All right. Well, we out here, guys.
Yeah.
Let's get out of here then. So we appreciate you coming on, Noah. Thank you. We will see you down there in a few weeks. And for everyone else, we appreciate you for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Pittsburgh Scouts.
All right, that wraps up this episode of North Shore 9. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whether you're listening on the podcast or catching us on YouTube, if you enjoyed the show, please give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps us grow. And if you're listening on the podcast, a quick review goes a long way in helping others find the show. Plus, be sure to tell a friend about us. There's always room for more here in the NS9 community. And for those looking to support us a little more, consider joining our Patreon, become an MVP member, and get exclusive perks while helping us continue to bring you more of the Pirates content you love. Thanks again for all your support, and let's go Bucks.